You're now listening to N21FM, a Pokemon podcast. This is our summer break. I promised that the season was over, but here we are doing another recording. My name is Glenn, or some of you might know me as Barry if you're joining from the Instagram page. Welcome. I'm joined today by a really wonderful person. His name is Henry Cortez. He is the owner of SoCal Playing Cards. He's a great friend of mine. And he recently staffed his very first Pokemon events, which is pretty exciting. It's always nice to be able to talk to people about new experiences with Pokemon, and we're going to get into that in just a moment. Before we begin, I do want to let all of you know at home that the Patreon has been overhauled. If you're interested in supporting that, and you've liked what you hear today, I have adjusted all those tiers so that it's a little more affordable. You can get into it for a good bit cheaper now. The tiers are set up as follows now, where $1 a month will get you early access to every episode as well as access to the bonus show. It will also that's all that's for that tier. The $5 tier gets you your questions read on the show as well as a preview into the guests that are coming every month, and the $10 tier is all of those things plus a producer credit and your name read at the end of the show. If you're interested in that, check the links in the description. That's all going to be cool. But if you want a free way to support the show and interact, just leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave us a rating on Spotify. You'll notice, by the way, Johnny is not here. His daughter Maggie was born today, actually, or like either early hours of this morning or late last night. But he's officially a dad now, so it's going to be a while before we see him again. So without further ado, I'd like to formally introduce my good friend Henry Cortez. Henry, how are you doing tonight?
Hey Glenn, I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, kind of in your intro, in that preamble, you just staffed NAIC, one of the biggest tournaments of the year for Pokemon fans. How did this come to be? Like, kind of just to jump into it, how did this come to be? Or I guess rather, before we get into that, because this is much more important, is tell the folks at home who maybe don't know anything about you, who are joining from previous episodes of the show. Tell us about yourself and what
Sure.
you do.
So again, my name is Henry. I live in Southern California, and really, I've been able to join this community from the playing cards. I sell playing cards. I've been a collector of playing cards for quite some time, enough to the point where I was buying so much that my wife said, "You got to start selling some," which she was right. So from there, we started selling a little bit on Instagram, a little bit on eBay, and it just really kind of snowballed from there. Snowballed to the point where we decided, in order to keep things manageable, we opened up an online store, and then from there, it really turned into a second full-time job. That's probably more time-consuming than my normal job, but it's an outlet for me. I don't stress about the store unless we're on vacation, but it actually brings relief, because my normal job, it can be stressful. So when I work on the store, it is a bit of a release in a sense. But yeah, that's how we got into this crazy thing, just selling playing cards, and from there we're able to meet a lot of people and go to a few different places, and it's been really rewarding. It really has.
That's super awesome. I will leave the link, of course, to SoCal Playing Cards in the description below. I don't know how much of my audience actively has interest yet in collecting playing cards or anything like that, but I know especially in recent history, have been carrying cards with me everywhere, and been some people in my circle have realized oh, those look cool. Like, where'd you get them? This, that, and the third. So
yeah,
for anybody watching, definitely check out Henry's store below. He has some of the best actual packaging and shipping practices out of anybody in the industry right now, and you can't possibly go wrong supporting his business. I know this sounds like a goofy ad read, but I promise you, if you're interested in starting to collect playing cards, or even just kind of want to peer into that world, Henry does it right. So by all means, check out his store. Yeah, man, you do a great job. The people deserve to know. So I'm interested, kind of, when you and I talked about it before, how did it come to be that a business owner in the world of just like playing cards, poker cards, right? How did that come to be that you transitioned to, or not transitioned to, but were in a position to staff a Pokemon tournament? What happened with that?
So, so personally, I've worked with the same company for 25 years, and I've worked in like sales. And basically, what the company does is we're a temporary employees staffing firm. So we hire people for events like this, short-term assignments, long-term assignments, and all points in between. This particular event, our company has done similar events in the past. For example, like BlizzCon, they had events. Disney, the D23 Expos. So that group, part of the company I work for, has done such a good job. I don't know the particulars of how we got involved with the Pokemon Championship, but they reached out, or I don't know how the dynamic was, but we were invited to help staff that event. A lot of the people they were referred. So these were people that were already on the radar that have knowledge about Pokemon enough to be judges and to help out with questions and so forth. But the really funny thing was when they asked me, all I knew was we have this project in New Orleans that we want to know if you can help out with. We think you'd be a good fit to help out that group. And I'm like, sure. I've always been, gung ho, that guy who like, you want me to do anything? I'll do anything. So you want me to go to Texas? I'll go to Texas. You want me to go to San Diego? You want me to go to El Paso? Fine, I'll go. So I said, we're going to send you to New Orleans to help us out. I'm like, great, I'm in. And it wasn't really until a week later that I asked, what am I doing?
All right.
And they said, well, it's going to be it's a Pokemon convention of some sort. And I'm like, oh, I've heard of Pokemon before. I dabbled with Pokemon Go. My kids, when they're younger, they bought Pokemon cards and such. So I get it. I know who Pikachu is and Eevee. And
sure,
that's about the extent of my knowledge, really, up to this point. But, it kind of piqued my curiosity because I'm like, Pokemon, this doesn't sound like, our normal boring project that I would have to do right now. This actually sounds kind of fun. And the more I looked into it, then I realized, oh, it's a championship.
Yeah.
And, then this is going to lead to the Worlds in Anaheim. I live by Anaheim. This is going to be awesome. So, it's neat how we're able to partner with an organization that helped out, just getting people onboarded, make sure all their legal documents are taken care of, telling them how to use their time card, how to clock in, how to clock on, and so forth. And it really ended up being a hell of a lot more fun than I anticipated. In fact, I'm already lobbying my managers like, hey, Anaheim, I'm your guy. I'm all in. I'm all in. So it's nice that we have these special projects, but once I found out what the scope was and exactly what we're doing, then it definitely piqued my curiosity a lot more.
Yeah, what was your expectation when you heard it was Pokemon? Like, were you expecting? I know the biggest thing that surprises people when I talk to them about like competitive Pokemon and these conventions and things like that. The biggest thing that surprises folks is usually the scale, because you expect like a Pokemon tournament is like, oh, like maybe the size of like your average like game store, or like people like playing on the kitchen table or something like that. And so usually when they see the production and the like 4 games are played across a whole weekend, and all this staff and all these competitors, like literal thousands of people, they're always astounded by that. But what do you think maybe stood out to you the most or surprised you the most about NAIC?
A few things, actually. I thought about this while I was there and afterwards. A couple of things that really struck out. Just the size and scope of it was the first thing. So I knew it was going to be at the convention center in New Orleans. I did not know it was going to take up the space of 2 massive halls that you probably put like 3 or 4, probably 5 football fields in.
Yeah.
So when I walked into the main lobby, there was a lot of people there. They have the new Nintendo Switch 2 set up with the new games, and there's Eevee and Pikachu taking pictures, but
everywhere.
When I went to the main hall, I was literally like, oh my God, I've been to a few different conventions, not a Pokemon one, of course, but
sure,
easily is probably the largest event I've ever seen. I've never seen a convention hall of that size. And, I've gone to like the LA Auto Show, and this was I was just blown away by how big it was. The second thing that I thought was really, really cool was just how inclusive the organization or just the group is, just everybody that was there. I mean, all shapes, all sizes, male, female, it didn't matter. I mean, black, white, Hispanic, it's just everyone was there of all all different backgrounds from all over the world. And I just thought that was really cool how diverse of a group that, the Pokemon, just the group as a whole, just the spectators and the competitors and, everyone who just there, young, old. I mean, you name it, somebody, there was somebody there who probably fit in that bucket or multiple buckets, really.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just really, really, really cool that we could be part of an event that was just, really that inclusive. And I thought it was really, really cool. It's cool to see that.
Yeah, certainly. I do really love that about Pokemon as a game, as a series of games actually as well.
Sure.
And something I notice a lot of the times when I look around at these conventions is not only just the diversity in like human being that is there at the event, but also like the ways you can participate in it, right?
Yes.
So you've got like obviously there's competitors, there's 4 different games, there's the trading card game, there's the video game, there's Pokemon Go, and there's even their new MOBA Pokemon Unite, which I'm actually a big fan of. I always hear them their like crowd in the background in the live streams, and I'm like, I want to go see what's going on there. But obviously thousands of people, for instance, for example, there were 4,561 just trading card game players to give the folks at home an idea of the scale. And these are people who are white, black, Hispanic, Asian, everything in between, of any and all genders. Like these are people from all kinds of walks of life. And on top of that, everybody participates in it in a different way. There's competitors. There's people who are just there to spectate. There's people who are there supporting their kids. For instance, you've got the juniors and seniors divisions. Like those are young kids a lot of the time.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure seniors caps out at age 16. And then there's a whole league of juniors, which is, I don't even remember exactly what their age cutoff range is, but it's pretty young. So
that was one thing that we noticed too when I first took my main, venture into the hall once the actual competition started. And we're talking day 1, minute 1. So you had all of, I think it was like 300 and some odd juniors, you had 400 and some odd seniors. And then the Masters division for just the trading card game
is huge.
I think they said it was like 3,000, 4,000 people. And you can see like everyone's there, all the tables are there. And just walking through the hall, it was neat because you can hear like a flurry of activity, but in a different sense. It's not like a lot of talking, a lot of noise. It's footsteps and just shuffling of cards, as part of the, and I just thought that was really, really neat that, you have this group there, they're kids. I mean, I can see how, my kids were that small and these play Pokemon cards, and these are like competitors. And just seeing that and, hearing the shuffling and hearing the cards hit the table, it was a neat experience. It really was.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I've been in that room at the table when the commotion changes as well, from like, oh, round 1 is starting, and you go from this commotion of like conversations being had to like it's so much quieter, and it's just like a little bit of conversation back and forth between players, and like the shuffling of cards, and like that's about it. It gets so much quieter than you really expect it to. It's super cool. But yeah, you've got your competitors from all kind of age groups. And you've got parents and supporters. You've got people who are just there to watch, because it is an incredible production as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And like the value they put into production. At some point, I actually really want to get somebody who does that side of things onto here, like somebody who works in what they call the Hive, right? Like that big tech booth where they run like the live streams to Twitch.
Right.
And then you've got that whole side of things. You've got the live casters. You've got people who are there to like just cosplay. There's people who just show up to dress up and hang out just for the environment. There's even people who show up just to play in like side events. And they'll have like, I know they have retro video games there too. Like they have Pokemon Coliseum a lot of the times, or like just old video games, old card game stuff, and even things that are put together by the community for the community. So I think that Pokemon really is special in that way, is just the amount of variety you're going to see in the room.
Yeah, they did a really, really good job. Even if you weren't necessarily too familiar with the video game or even the card game, they had like origami pages where you can fold up and make a Pikachu out of origami. They had coloring pages. Cool. They had even had the Pokemon Monopoly games set up, where if you wanted to play Monopoly, they had the Pokemon themed Monopoly games, and people were playing them. They had old GameCubes. I think it was a GameCube with some games that were installed that people were playing on that. So even if you weren't, the prototypical diehard Pokemon competitor, they did a really, really good job of getting people, at the very least, introduced to what was going on, what to expect. At least get yourself familiarized with, what Pokemon is and what it's about. So even if I thought it was because I got all the coloring pages to my wife's a teacher, and like, here you go, and she was pretty happy about that.
That's awesome.
But and the origami pages, I mean, it was they did a really, really good job. Even if you didn't really fit into, not necessarily a gamer. Well, you got the board games, you got you take pictures here, you do origami color, you can see what's going on, and I think they did a really, really good job of keeping everybody interested and engaged.
That's good. That was actually really interesting. One of the other questions I wanted to make sure I asked is like, was it alienating at all to kind of enter into this huge space where everyone's there to celebrate this franchise that you're not exactly invested in?
I do have one funny story. So they had the main hall, but they also had like additional merchants who were selling Pokemon cards, plushes, just all kinds of stuff Pokemon related. And, I wanted to find a sticker. So it was funny because the only time I got nervous was I don't know the names of like all the Pokemon, obviously.
Sure, there's like 1,000 of them now.
Yeah, there's so many. And, I know some of them look familiar, especially from an evolution standpoint. So my daughter's favorite Pokemon is Cubone. And I thought, cool, I'm going to find some stickers, or I'm going to find some stuff. Okay. So I go in there and I find a sticker, and I'm like, can I get that Cubone sticker? She goes, that's Marowak. I'm like, I just want the sticker, please. Can I have the sticker?
Oh, no. That's really funny.
I mean, it's fine. Now I know, but, of course I know that the evolution, I get it, but
of all the evolutions, they look pretty similar.
I'm like, that's like, sure, that's the same one. I'm like, no, it's Marowak. I still want the sticker. Can I, please?
Just give me the sticker, dude.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
But I get that was the only thing that, and again, it wasn't even that big of a deal. I mean, I'm not going to know all the Pokemon, but now I'm going to try like hell to figure out who's who.
Yeah, that's cool though. I do notice that, like, when it comes to not like, there's a lot to learn if you aren't exactly in there. It's, I mean, just 1,000 guys right off the bat. Like, you better do your homework, I guess.
Yeah, it's funny you say it because someone asked me, what's your favorite Pokemon? I'm like, I don't want to be like too obvious. Like Cubone.
Yeah.
Oh, good one. Which actually is pretty cool. I even like, that's my daughter's favorite, but I even bought this for myself, in the merch stand. So
sweet.
They had that. Yeah. And they had the Pokemon Center open for walks last minute. I'm like, I'm going to get myself one too. So my daughter has one and I have one now. So I had a good time. I think that's the one thing that people don't realize, that even though you're not necessarily like a Pokemon expert or aficionado, I had the best time. Like, I really did. I spent way too much money. I spent way more than I should have. Yeah, I really did. Like, here's a guy like, nah, Pokemon. I'm not a Pokemon guy too. Like, we're gonna learn how to play this game. I bought a couple of these.
I love that.
I did. Yeah, I bought these for myself and my wife. I'm like, we're gonna learn how to play. We gotta get this figured out so we can, really
so awesome.
get an understanding of what's going on here.
That's super cool. That's so interesting. You picked out, by the way, one of my favorite decks. That Origin Form Palkia V-Star is one of my favorite cards ever put in the game. It is, when it first came out, it was super unbalanced. It came out so like a couple years ago, and it was just, there was a I don't know how much attention you paid to like any of the TCG stuff, right? But as far as what was on screen and who was playing at the highest level on the streams, but I know that there was a pretty decent amount of deck variety throughout the tournament. But to put it into perspective, Palkia V-Star, when it came out, the tournament that, I want to say it was like Brisbane Regionals in Australia, but top 8 was all the Palkia V-Star deck.
Oh, really?
Every 8 out of 8, it was incredible. Like, it was truly not balanced at the time, and since then it's rotated out of the standard format, but it is still has a very special place in my heart because it was one of the first decks I played competitively. super fun deck. Not that variation because it's got some different stuff in it, but I like that guy a lot. I like his design a lot too. Cool. So, do you think then, like, did you have? I guess we kind of talked really about your expectations of it. Do you think there was anything that, like, well, we talked about what surprised you as well?
Yeah, the one thing that really surprised me is just how engaged and people, how interested people are, from a spectator standpoint, even.
Yeah.
So I'll put it this way: so Dodgers and the Yankees in the World Series. Okay,
Sure.
Freddie Freeman hits a grand slam. I come absolutely unhinged. I'm jumping up and down. I'm throwing my arms up. So the Pokemon Championships, I was all done on Sunday, and then I had the opportunity to go downstairs, and I was able to watch the very end of the video game finals. I was able to see the juniors, the seniors, and the masters.
Yeah.
That at the end. So the crazy thing is the way I watch a baseball game, especially like the World Series or the Super Bowl, is the exact same way people will watch the Pokemon Championships, and it never really dawned on me that. Yeah, they're having a championship, but to have a huge hall, not a room. We're talking about a packed hall with rows of seats like 25 deep, just all watching the screens and watching what's going on. And something happens, or Pokemon got passed out, and everyone's like, "Oh!" Everyone's literally the way I react when Freddie Freeman hits a home run in the World Series. I mean, it's the same type of reaction, the same type of chatter that I can hear behind me, like, "Oh, I don't know, he should have done that. He should have done this, blah, 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 blah. What do you think he's going to do next? Oh, he left himself open for da, 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 da." And I'm hearing, a chirping, from from all around me. And it's like, this is exactly how I am with like my brothers when we're watching the game. Oh, well, he should have threw that pitch inside, but he didn't. He should have, where's the next pitch going to go? And it's the same type of engagement and I would say emotion and passion. But it's for Pokemon, which I understand it because I'm a total fanatic when it comes to like baseball and the Dodgers, and I see a very distinct parallel for people watching the championships or watching the matches, and people were excited and jumping up and screaming, and I was like, this is how can you not get sucked into this moment?
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's difficult. And even I was like, oh, I don't know completely what happened, but something happened.
Yeah. You kind of, it's a really special thing, truly. Especially when I mentioned it earlier, the Pokemon Unite stuff, they get the best reactions out of any of the 4 games. It is hog wild, man. I mean, like, people are jumping up and down screaming, people are popping off. I literally will hear the way they had like the stages up. I don't know if it was the same way in New Orleans, but they have like the 4 stages like side by side with a competition stage. And Unite is normally like at the far end, kind of off to the side, because it's definitely one of the smallest of the games. But you can hear, it's like you're normally on the opposite end of the set of stages from the trading card game table.
Yeah.
And I can hear them popping off every time from like 3 stages away. They go absolutely bananas. And I think actually, even to that point, the players who do it best for the trading card game are like, it's honestly kind of a meme like in the community, like Brazilian players. Whenever there's a Brazilian player on the stage, it's gonna go crazy because they're so hype about it, and it's a huge cultural thing. It's super cool. It's so exciting just to be part of it like that.
I think we saw that. I want to say that I want to say it was the seniors, where I think one of the finalists was from Brazil.
I think most of the finalists in seniors were from Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. I have the data pulled up right here, but it's not loading the way it's supposed to. But I do remember seeing that, and it was really impressive because a lot of top cuts for seniors was Brazilian players. It might have been actually the guy who won. Let me see.
I want to say he did. I want to say it was a Brazilian and American, and the Brazilian won in the final.
Yes, Gabriel Fernandez. I knew that. Gabriel Fernandez is really well known, actually. There were 2 Brazilian players in Top Cut. The rest were all American. or United States folks. But Gabriel Fernandez is, first of all, as like somebody kind of like inside baseball stuff, right? Gabriel Fernandez is somebody that people in the Masters division are terrified of. You either like don't respect him because you're kind of like a scumbag and like look down on young players, or you are aware that Gabriel Fernandez is one of the best players in the game right now, and that when he joins up to Masters division, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
He is an outrageously talented player. So yeah, I know him in finals was big. I don't remember Casio. What's that Casio M's last name? I'm not sure, but Casio
I remember
was
that name,
also
yeah.
up there. Another good one. I know that he wasn't on stream, but the 6th place player, Joseph, he's actually from our group.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he got 6th place. He's, again, an incredible player. But yeah, Brazilian players pop off like crazy. Unite players pop off like crazy. I think, yeah, Henry K was one of the juniors. He's Brazilian. And they had, there was a Colombian player too. Yeah, I would have paid to be in that room, truly. I wish I'd been there, because that would have been so exciting. I just know that finals went crazy. And I watched some of the stream too. Did you have any expectations about like the broadcasting side of things going into it?
No, I didn't know it was to that degree. I mean, listening to the play-by-play, I was impressed how they're able to do a play-by-play with so much going on. And I mean, you have to have a pretty vast knowledge of, of all the Pokemon per se and all their, related skills and moves or whatever they're called. But the play-by-play, I think it rivals some of the, what you hear like in a top-tier NFL game.
Yeah.
The cameras that were involved, I think when I met up with my wife, because we got her spectator pass for nice. Sunday, so she was seeing more of it than I was, because I was still doing some of the work. But when I came out, cameras everywhere, light effects everywhere. They had pyrotechnics. They had multiple screens everywhere. Even when it first started, they had some of the matches were on. They were set up with cameras directly over the TCG tables, and people were watching them, off on the side. So not only was it just extremely engaging, the technological standpoint, the broadcast standpoint, the play-by-play, even the breaks in between where there was matches, they had, it was almost like a pregame and a postgame where they talked up, here's who we have. This person has won the championship, 3 times in a row. This person has won at regionals, and this person, it just came up out of nowhere. I think even Apollo, they had to come up with here it was his first major event, and here he is in the final. Yeah. So they did a really, really good job as far as, painting the picture of what to expect for the upcoming matches.
Yeah.
And being able to detail what's going on in real time on the fly, where you're not exactly sure what's going to happen yet. And they did a really good job of explaining what's going on as it's happening.
Yeah. Do you think that helped you a lot to like be able to engage more with it from somebody who like otherwise wouldn't exactly know what any of these cards do or what like these guys do in the game?
Absolutely. Yeah, just watching and hearing it, then I'm able to piece together, okay, I'm getting a pretty quick understanding of what's going on. So again, this is someone who's never personally played Pokemon, but with everything going on, watching and hearing and, all the spectators and just the overall energy that's in the room, you can't help but to be sucked in. And, really, I even found myself rooting for some of the competitors. Like, come on, that's so cool. It. It was cool. It was very cool.
Love that. That's so cool too, when you're able to like find somebody and when you're not fully in the know. I remember having this moment when I first started out, being very like a degree of separation at least away from it, because I was like, I'm here to play, but I just know that this deck I'm playing is kind of good, so maybe I'll be able to like do well with it. Yeah. And then I'm hearing about people who are like from my area, or like people that I know who have like a really interesting like deck building philosophy or team building philosophy for the video games. And I find myself rooting for these players because I'm like, this is an interesting, different way to play. And I find myself like getting like attached to these players, and which is a really, they do something really special with that, with the production side of things, giving you a means by which you can get invested for really low, like for just about nothing. Like you just show up and you listen, you're like, this person does this, they're playing this way.
Right.
That's interesting.
It was, I mean, just the way they talked, the this, I guess I could call it the pregame, but yeah, listening to everything going on and hearing Apollo, for example. Like I knew it sounded like he was going to have his hands full with the competitor he was against. But yeah, I found myself rooting for Apollo.
Apollo.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
think
remember? Was
I
that
want
video
to say he
games or
was
trading card games?
in the seniors in the video game. He
Okay,
was in the video game
gotcha.
final.
Oh, for some reason, the website that has all of these stats on them does not have NAIC's stats up on it quite yet for the video game, but that's good to know. Cool though. Do you remember anything about his team? I'm just out of curiosity. I don't want to put you on the spot, but like if you can remember any of the guys who are in there, even if you just describe them.
He had a really. Do you remember the name of the big one he used? He had some cool energy beam that shot out. It was almost like a winged. It was almost like a winged phoenix looking one. I wish I remembered because when he used that in the second game, the second game, which he won the second game, he knocked out both of his opponents like in one shot.
Oh wow!
And the crowd was just going, just going nuts.
Bananas, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they were. Again, it's one of those like Freddie Freeman Grand Slam moments where everyone's just like, "Oh my god," And I was like, "This is cool."
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. It's cool that you remember stuff like that though, because I don't remember most of the stuff that I saw like my first time. I remember like Piper Lapine being a cool name, but like you're remembering these details, and that's interesting to me. I just think that's really cool. That's really special that you're able to connect in that way.
Oh yeah, I really had a great time. And my boss asked me how it was, and I think when I told him, "Oh yeah, I had fun. It was great," I think he thought I was just feeding them all like a line because it was just a job. But no, I really had a great time. Like, let me what is it? Like I bought a bunch of these.
Oh, that's cool.
And here's the funny thing. So
yeah,
being from a playing card guy, like I don't open my decks. All my decks are, they're sealed. I just don't open them. But these, like, I could not open these things fast enough.
Yeah.
They were handing them out, just giving them away. And I'm like, as soon as I got one, I'm like, who did I get? Who did I get? Yeah.
That's so cool. It's interesting. There is such a dichotomy in that way. Like the community of like collecting playing cards is so different as far as like, well, and it also in a lot of ways the same. Like playing cards and also Pokemon cards, there's a lot of overlap in the way that they collect, right? There's folks I know who collect sealed products. There's folks I know who just collect like singles. There's people who do want like a master set. So like that's like the same as collecting everybody from the same brand or whatever. And I just think that's really cool how there's obviously the medium being playing cards is similar, right? Because you learn like, oh, there's different things that there's different ways that like cards are made, and you can this like there's hollow foils and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's interesting that I actually was able to kind of glean some interesting stuff about like the way cards are made in the way I've been collecting. But I don't know, it's just interesting how similar the two are, despite being objectively pretty different in that like, yeah, people can play like poker and card games with like regular playing cards, but I at least I'm not sure what your numbers would show, but at least in my experience, most of the people who are buying playing cards at that level are either magicians, cardists, or like sealed collectors. And so there's not really like a game being played with them. Nobody's looking for like the Ace of Hearts out of like the Rip and Dip V2 Fontaines, like. So it's cool that there's like such an interesting amount of overlap with that, but not overwhelming amount.
And you touched on a point I was thinking about, that when you buy a pack of playing cards, you know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get all the hearts, all the clubs, all the diamonds, all the spades. Sure. Jack, Queen, King, 2 jokers, maybe a couple other cards. But all in all, you're gonna buy a pack of playing cards. You know exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know if it's going to be a great pack. I don't even know if it's going to be a lousy pack. With me, I mean, in my experience, I could open it and not even know, even after I open it, if it's a great pack or a lousy pack.
Yeah, sure. But there's a lot of magic in that experience you have as somebody who's like experiencing that for the first time or the second time or the 10th time or the 1000th time.
Oh yeah.
It's something really special. So it's cool that you were able to have those experiences maybe for the first time. I don't know if you ever collected like cards back in the day that were like baseball cards. You said you're a big Dodgers fan, or like
Yeah.
like obviously like we're talking about Pokemon, but this extends further beyond that to just collectible cards in general. So
I think there definitely is a mystique about Pokemon cards now that I went to the event. Baseball cards, yeah, if you think about these, I love baseball, I love sports, but yeah, you got a bunch of adults all over the baseball cards who,
sure.
Getting paid tons of money for, playing a game. Pokemon, I think it brings a sense of my inner kid. I've always considered like a big kid at heart.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why I had so much fun. That's why I was, buying packs like there was no tomorrow, because it really did tap into the big kid in me in a way that, baseball cards used to, but maybe not so much anymore. Pokemon cards, it just kind of sparked something that was a little bit different, a little bit of nostalgia of what it felt like to be a kid. And you see these characters in the card, and the art and how they're drawn, and so that was kind of cool. That was neat. That one's kind of cute, whatever.
The art is great on Pokemon cards nowadays, by the way.
Oh, fantastic.
It is the best time it's ever been to be playing like a Pokemon card collector, because the art is out of this world. And it's also more abundant than it's ever been. I remember when we first started getting like, you showed me that Pikachu art you pulled from 151. And that set is one of those sets that has a lot of really like cool art cards in it. But we've probably increased the amount of like illustration rares, or what they're like called colloquially. I think we've probably tripled the amount of illustration rares we get every set, if not more than that. So there's more art than there's ever been. The hit rate on getting those art cards is higher than it's ever been, for the most part. So there is something special about there being art to collect as well. And also the creatures are kick-ass, man.
They are.
There's so many cool ones that are just like, oh, that's an interesting design. There's like, I like a lot of the bug guys. Couldn't tell you why. I'm not a big fan of bugs in real life, but like there's some of them that I just can't get over. And it's cool to just have like, everybody's got their own favorite Pokemon for whatever reason. And within each of those people, more often than not, everybody who has a favorite Pokemon is going to have, there's like a couple of different cards that have this guy on there. You can go out and collect them. Like, it's special on an individual level that a lot of mediums kind of aren't able to recreate.
Yeah, even the cards within the packs. I mean, I remember opening ripping them open one by one. I came across Eevee, but then there was another one. It was the same card, but you can see there was a holographic layer to it, which was really cool.
Yeah, it's really special in that way. So it's kind of a hard pivot, but I am gonna kind of move to this position where I kind of want to ask, like, what was the daily routine like for you for this? It was the 3 days, right? It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday that you were
Actually,
there?
I flew in Wednesday just for the travel day. Thursday was an orientation day, so everyone that we had that was going to work the events, that we keep track of time cards and making sure everyone was buttoned up with their I-9s, and so when everyone make sure they showed up. We did have they call it day zero, so everyone showed up for that Thursday. That's where they got their T-shirts or their polo shirts. Some of them were judges. Some of them were helping out in the Pokemon Center. It seemed like a lot of them were judges. Some were judges in the card games. Some were judges at the video games. Yeah. Just in case there was a problem or whatever. Yeah. So they had Thursday. Yeah. It was tons of them.
I'm actually a judge. Fun fact.
Oh, nice. Right on.
I actually need to renew my certifications, but whatever.
Oh, you have to be certified for that.
Oh yeah, it's like a whole thing. There's like tests to take. There's different levels of judges that you can do for different games. Each of them requiring, and they're actually overhauling the way that the judge system is done right now. But there's like layers to make sure that everything is done. I think for like what's called a stage 2 judge, I'm pretty sure you have to like write an essay.
Oh wow. It makes sense because the knowledge has to be on point, I'm sure. Yeah. So that does make sense. There would be a certification, but no, good to know. I had no idea, but that thinking about it makes sense. It's like being an umpire. You're not just going to show up unless you know the rules of the game. So yeah. Yeah, so we had the day zero. Day one, that's where we checked in. And basically, as far as the normal job end of it, we were just around in case somebody had questions with, clocking in, clocking out.
Mm-hmm.
That was really it. So we were keeping an eye on people's time cards. But during that, luckily, there was enough downtime where I did go, get to go downstairs and check it out and see what was going on. And it was kind of funny because some of the people we had come up to, check in with us, I saw them on the floor and they were like, hey, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? So
Yeah.
The day itself, the first day was probably the hardest, and the last day from a work standpoint, because we had to make sure, we got to get everybody paid.
Yeah.
So, and we got
That
to
is a
make
big
sure that
deal.
all their time is accurate. I've learned in this business, if you want to piss somebody off, make sure their check is wrong, and then you guarantee someone's gonna have a bad day.
Oh, certainly.
But no, I mean, after that, outside of just double checking everybody's time, I was really happy that I had time to go down and just soak it all in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't hard per se.
Sure.
Reviewing time cards one by one, yeah, it's a little long, but luckily I finished that enough where that's when I was able to go down on the last day and check out the finals for the video game competitions.
Nice. Cool. So was it just you, or were you on a team?
It was a small team, so luckily I got invited to this group. They've done events similar to this before. I think this was the first Pokemon one though, so I was happy to be part of the first event. And yeah, they're already talking about maybe having us do the Worlds, which I'm like, please pick me.
That'd be pretty
literally
sick.
like, pick me.
I know it hasn't been like announced yet, but I'm pretty sure there was like a report that came out that I think next year, not this upcoming Worlds, but I know if you don't get picked next year, I'm pretty sure next year is in San Diego. They're doing California
nice.
2 years in a row. So if not this year, there's a chance. There's still a chance that next year you're good. Which
yeah, I hope so.
Really
So
cool.
if wherever they have these things, I'm gonna lobby to my manager. I'm your guy.
It's interesting. I'm gonna try to go next year for sure. I there's no way I'm making it this year, but I'm really stoked to see what it's gonna look like. It seems like a blast though. It seems like, obviously I don't want to like downplay what your work was like, but it sounds like you had a pretty, by and large, a pretty low stress weekend. Yeah.
It was, for a work job or for a work assignment.
Sure.
One, if normally my work assigns me a project like on a Saturday or a Sunday, I'm like, probably rather not. But I was really happy to find out it was the Pokemon Championship. So then it really didn't seem like work. I mean, it really didn't. I mean, sure, we look at spreadsheets and time cards, and that's fine and dandy. But outside of that, and we're having great conversations with some of the people that came up, and they're asking me questions. We're asking them questions, and what makes this Pokemon different from the next Pokemon. And no one was annoyed. I mean, everyone was more than happy to answer their questions and talk about how one of my partners, she installed a Pokemon Go there at the workstation because someone said you need to download this game. You'll find all kinds of Pokemon here. They have special Pokemons and they're easier to find because of the event and blah blah blah. So she was literally like, she tapped a few things, then you could see her pick up her phone and like, how do I need more of the ball things. I'm like, you got to go to Pokestop,
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Getting inundated into this environment just immediately like that.
I think everyone was all in. It's not just me. Even the team that I was with, they were installing Pokemon Go. They were trying to find Pokemon. They were getting frustrated when the game wasn't responding the way they wanted to. And
wow,
it was just really cool because they were asking. She asked one of the competitors who just happened to be in the room, and they were like more than happy to answer her questions.
Yeah,
it was really, really cool.
Yeah, some of the most friendly people I've ever met. I've been able to reach out to like content creators who are degrees of magnitude bigger than myself, and they're all so personable. I remember my first regional experience. I was able to, so on like day one, well, not really day one, but the day before day one, when everybody was checking in, it was like that Friday. It was back when it was in Charlotte, which is by me. In 2023, I want to say. Yeah, 2023. I sat down and at one of the tables on that Friday, and I was just hanging out with actually it was just me. I didn't go with a team that year. I was sitting down by myself, and I saw next to me was this group of these people who are pretty well known in the community. They're called the Shuffle Squad. They have like matching jerseys. They tend to like make a lot of content. They have like their own podcast. They call it the Shuffle Pod because, of course, it's very clever. And they like sat down across from me, and one of them I recognized from his videos that I've been following for a while, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so, I'm nervous, of course. It's a while ago, and I don't know how I'm going to interact with these people. But I asked like, hey, like, how are you doing? It's cool to see you here. And then I got a picture with him, and then a little bit of time passed, and I had to muster up the gall to be like, actually, I'm gonna come back over and be like, hey, can I actually get a game in with you? Because I don't know if I'll ever get another chance. And I did, and he was super cool. He's like, yeah, sure, we can play a game. That by all means, like, sit down. Of course, I got smoked, but
that's gonna be my question. Yeah, how did that game
go?
Oh
no, I got absolutely thrashed. But it was cool because it didn't really become about the game. Like he and I just talked shop about content creation. I was like, oh, like what editing software do you use? What's your philosophy when you are doing this, that, and the third? How do you pick a deck?
Sure.
And we were able to talk about stuff that felt like we were already friends, which is maybe a little bit parasocial, but it was cool to be able to sit down and just have a normal conversation with somebody else that's in the industry, but also in like in the game at a high level, and have that conversation, which the people in Pokemon are also welcoming. Like, I remember that same tournament, I was there by myself, like I said, and I met several people who were also there by themselves, and we were able to kind of like bond over that. And they were like, yeah, we'll just hang out, even if it's just somebody to come check in with between rounds and be like, oh yeah, I won or I lost, or like, oh, I it was a weird matchup, it was super crazy, like this and this happened. And there's something unique about that in the way that community works.
That's what I noticed. I mean, nobody was standoffish. Everyone was totally approachable. Nobody even had this look about them, like, don't bother me type look. I mean, it just wasn't there.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said for that, because right now, I think nerds kind of have this bad reputation for being that way, being standoffish or elitist or gatekeepy, or even, unfortunately, in a lot of circumstances, like problematic, like misogynist or racist. And something I'm very proud of this particular community for is, by and large, not really having those problems so bad. It's really touching to, especially in the, not to like be weird, but like in the climate we're in, it's very easy to continue being in a way of mind that is not conducive to growth or inclusion or love for other people. But I'm very proud of this community for being definitely more on the cutting edge than at least most other card games.
Right. It's funny you say it because, before we flew to New Orleans, we were in Los Angeles. And, I don't think we really need to explain what's been going on in Los Angeles. But, then going to, the Pokemon convention and seeing the inclusivity and seeing the diversity, it was a refreshing moment that I need for that exact period of time.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. I'm glad you're able to have that, because obviously, like you said, things in LA we're not doing good for that time period.
A little tense. So it did bring, a bit of levity and relaxation.
Yeah.
It really helped me not to think about it as much, because I get sucked into those things, get down the rabbit hole and then, but
of course,
no, it was nice. I mean, I really, it was the event that I needed to work at the right time. That's the way it ended up being for me. And it ended up being a hell of a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be too.
That's really awesome. Cool. I think we've kind of, with that, exhausted this list of questions I had for you. Is there anything else that you'd kind of want to talk about before we start wrapping things up?
No, I think that's it. I really appreciate you having me on. It was funny when we first talked about me jumping on. was like, I don't really know anything about Pokemon though.
Yeah.
So, but being able to speak to the experience, I think, yeah, you're right. As I don't want to say like an outsider per se, but as someone who doesn't have that knowledge, doesn't have that
Mhm.
background, yeah, again, I've said this a million times, but I really had a great time, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of all in. I want to learn how to play. I want to learn more about it, and who knows, maybe someday I might be halfway decent. But
Hey,
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
it was a great time. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. I'm so thrilled that you had a good time and that you have an interest in even like in the franchise and the games at all. Like when you pulled up the two decks you bought, I was elated because that's just cool to see somebody who is not necessarily like you said an outsider, but somebody who's brand new to it at all. Like being like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, how could you not be? I mean, I imagine some people would go, I'm like, oh, okay, it's kind of cool, and then they never think about it again. But
Yeah.
it's been almost a week now. I'm still thinking about it.
Wow. That's really special. Excellent. Well, Henry, I also again I can't thank you enough for coming on because it's such a unique perspective and it's cool to hear somebody have that excitement because as you can imagine when we're in the space of people who are competing frequently or just really inundated into the ebb and flow of what's going on in the games, like
Sure.
you do get kind of a burnout sometimes. And so your enthusiasm and great experience is actually really beneficial for me as an enjoyer of the franchise to be reminded of kind of the magic that is inherently in Pokemon. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate you for gifting me that.
No, I appreciate it. I had a good time.
Yeah, by all means. Well, that's kind of all we had planned. Folks at home, if you enjoyed this, please by all means leave a like and a comment and subscribe, rate us on Spotify. But more importantly, let this be an indicator that you should go to a Pokemon event and you should try this out, be there in person, take in the atmosphere, have a good time. And, from there, see what comes of that. Also, please, again, check out Henry's shop. One of the best guys I know. Excellent dude, excellent businessman, and some excellent cards features on his site, too. I still have and frequently use the very first deck of cards I ever bought from him. It's these. One of my favorite decks I've ever used. I bought like 2 more copies and I still haven't opened them because I'm like, these are special. These are different. But yeah, that link will be in the description as well as the link for my Patreon. If you want to support in that way, if you liked what you heard today. But that's really all I got. Thank you all for coming out for the first of the summer break series. And I'll see you again in the near future, but I'm not quite sure when. But until then, have a great night and peace out.